Hello, Africa. Another beautiful Saturday in your company. I am Boh Elvis, welcoming you to this edition of 90 Minutes in Africa, your weekly news magazine program that takes a look at happenings in Africa and also how happenings in the world affect our continent. In today's edition of the program 90 Minutes in Africa, we are going to be talking about the intertwined relationship between success and godfatherism in Africa. But also before that, as we know, Russia has invaded Ukraine, and that is headline news across the world. Our panelists in the studio and those that will be joining us out of Cameroon and in other areas of the world are going to be diving into this topic too, taking a look at the possible impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on the African continent. Ladies and gentlemen, my studio panelists are already there for today's discussion. I want to use the opportunity to welcome Emmanuel Ndiwum, Mr. Slow and Steady Facts, who is an analyst in the program. Thank you so much, sir, for coming.
Thank you very much, Boh Elvis. Thank you for the renewed confidence. I wish to say good afternoon to my co-panelists, Robert and Kedia, with whom we are going to be discussing Africa today and the world. And a shout out to all the lovers of the program, 90 Minutes in Africa. We are going to take you front and back on the events that have been taking place in the continent within the week.
Thank you so much, Ndiwum Emmanuel. Of course, those who are just joining us, you can watch the program via Facebook. You go to Facebook, you type My Media Prime TV, and of course, you like and share to as many Pan-African groups as possible to invite many people to watch, because today's topics are really very interesting. We want to use the opportunity to welcome Song Derick. Thank you so much for coming to the 90 Minutes in Africa after a long time.
Thank you very much, Boh Elvis. You know, sometimes one has to take out time to think about personal issue, allow politics to play itself sometimes while we think about how to build serve. And that explains the reason why I've been out for some time. But nonetheless, here I am with fine brains. It's a pleasure sharing the platform with the likes of Mr. Slow and Steady Facts, Ndiwum Emmanuel, and my brother, Kedia Robert Malafe. It's been long. We share the platform. It's a pleasure. We are here today, and we hope that our viewers should stay glued while we contribute on what is happening around the world, especially on how to better Africa, especially with the GFS godfatherism syndrome that has crippled Africa to its nails.
Thank you so much, Song Derick. Thank you, Kedia Malamfe, for coming too. He is also part of our panelists today. The last time you were here, our views increased in the geometric progression, and the program went viral across the globe. I want to thank you so much, Kedia, for taking that time to come to the show again.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Greetings to my co-panelists. Special greetings to my Media Prime institution. Thank you people very much for these wonderful institutions which you are creating awareness to the Cameroonian people and the world at large. Special greetings to my family, the Odysseyanas family at Ekorodu in Lagos State, and to all those watching us today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, and we are also going to be joined any moment from now by Dr. Ako John Ako, a lecturer and a usual consultant on My Media Prime. We also have other Pan-African brains that will be joining us. From Sierra Leone, we have one of our consultants there, Jacob Samis Hallowell, will be joining us to talk about godfatherism. We'll also be having Ntoze Lizwe Benjamin will be joining us from South Africa, and Barasa Moses from Uganda. Before we move to the very mouth-watering topic, understanding the intertwined relationship between success and godfatherism in Africa, I think something is happening in the world. Russia invaded Ukraine during the week, and of course, you know, these are topics that have an impact on the unofficial media in Africa and My Media Prime, the CMG group, the courtesy of the CMG group. She granted an interview to talk about the way forward as far as negotiations between Ukraine and Russia are concerned. Let's watch the clip.
Once we heard President Zelensky stating during his TV address a request or a statement about their desire and the opportunity to hold negotiations immediately at the level of foreign ministers and the administration of the president. It was stated that we are ready for such negotiations. Minsk was suggested as a platform for negotiations. As for the Russian side, a group, a delegation could participate. It could engage representatives of foreign ministry and defense ministry and the Kremlins. Well, it would be a high level. I'm not talking about the high leadership, but that would be senior experts that have a deep knowledge of the current situation. We should understand how serious the Kiev regime is about its intention. The thing is that over the past years, we have repeatedly heard their oral desire to launch negotiations, but once these negotiations started, we saw how the Kiev regime blocks them. Once we heard the statements by Zelensky about his alleged desire to hold negotiations, immediately Foreign Minister of Ukraine made another statement that Russia should be brought to justice. They should shape their clear position. This should be a unified position, and they should stick to it.
That was Russian. That was Maria Zakharova, the spokeswoman of the Russian Foreign Ministry. Of course, those who are just joining us, you're watching My Media Prime. This is 90 Minutes in Africa. We want to say hi to our millions of viewers watching us, close to 3 million watching us via Canal Sat. Close to 3 million watching us via Emos 19, and of course millions watching us via Swecom and other satellite networks that relay our channel across Africa. I want to say welcome, and those watching us via BT Media Group on YouTube, and those that are watching us too via Facebook, My Media Prime TV. Keep sharing and telling us where you're watching from, or if you have questions or contributions, you kindly just drop them and we will read. Of course, there are two schools of thought. People who believe that some conflicts can be handled or solved with a gun, and those who believe that the gun cannot solve conflict. We have one of our guests today, an expert, Stephen Perry, chairman of 48 Club Group, who has to talk to us about how he thinks the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine can be solved.
It's a war in Europe we don't like to see. We've had a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. And for most people of my age, we don't want to see it again. We don't want to see war. And we want the participants in this situation, that is, of course, the Ukraine, but it's more significantly the United States and Russia, to find the ways to solve these problems that they have. That once you take to war, there is always a long-term consequence. So I'm sure that I reflect what other people in Britain think, which is we would like to see an end to the war as quickly as possible. And we would like to see the problems between nations sorted and committed to be sorted by discussion, not by use of military methods.
Welcome back to the studio. I've been with Ndiwum Emmanuel. We've heard Stephen Perry, chairman of 48 Club Group, who is an expert in conflict resolution, saying that this kind of war between Russia and Ukraine cannot be solved with a gun. It's something that should be handled on the dialogue table. Well,
I've often said I'm waiting, if God should permit me to live longer, to meet that century where a peace bullet shall be manufactured. Because to the best of my knowledge, any bullet that comes out, it comes out to kill. But I think even with our bare hands, our round tables could always be available to speak. That is to say, dialogue is stronger than a bullet, because dialogue prolongs life, but bullets takes away life. So I subscribed to his idea. But the question now is like the whole world, there is a problem. The whole world is in disarray, because those who we expected them to give us lessons, and instead those who are picking up arms to be wasting lives. And so I don't know in this domain who is who should learn from who. So indeed, like I said, we are almost all confused.
Thank you, Ndiwum Emmanuel. Song Derick, you listened to the Russian Foreign Affairs spokeswoman. Of course, after launching an attack on Ukraine, she comes back and says it is time for us to dialogue. And of course, the latest news is that the Russians are calling on Ukrainians to lay down their arms for dialogue to unfold.
Of course, we heard the President Vladimir Putin saying that Russia, at one time even said the Ukraine population should, or military should overthrow their president because it will be easier to dialogue with them than the president. But I have a problem that the saddest thing is that wars always end where they should have started. And wars will always end on a dialogue table, and that is where it would have started. What is happening is that we are going to be crying after the effect, after the destruction, whereas a simple, settled negotiation or dialogue should have solved the killing, should have solved the problems of men dying. Unfortunately, it is a litmus test. It is a pure litmus test on the side of the United Nations. It is a litmus test on the side of the European Union. It is a litmus test on the side of NATO, where we expect them to take actions. We have seen the likes of Joe Biden, who has taken up the role of a pastor, quoting quotes every day, and we see the war going on. We have seen other countries who have stood solidly behind Ukraine to call for a ceasefire. Unfortunately, if action is not taken now, we may only live to cry the more, because the destruction, if you see one rocket launcher done, if you see the military prowess that Russia is trying to display, and I think Zelensky, too, the young man, is okay to say that he's not going to lay down his arms. It is his right, it is his duty to protect the sovereignty of his own territory and his own country. Last night there were reports that he had gone out of the country. He had run out of the country for safety. I saw him. He did a video with his cabinet, said that he is in the country and all what he needs is a gun for himself too, because he too needs to defend the people. But all in all, I do not think any normal human being should support war, because war is there to reduce life. And after this war, there is going to be a great impact all over the world. Where we stand now, Mr. Boh Elvis, is that no matter how self-sufficient Africa is, where we stand, it is the West that dictates situations. And after this war, things are going to happen that will impact Africa so badly.
Thank you, Song Derick. I want to use the opportunity to welcome the man who doesn't speak with water in his mouth. Dr. Ako John Ako is already with us. Of course, we have to go back to our machines to get the situation in Ukraine, how are residents living the unexpected situation of war, how are they coping with the situation. We watch what they have to say, how they have been able to live the moments so far.
It's kind of never-ending day. It feels like that for us, because we basically haven't slept since really early, and then it's really kind of hard to concentrate and keep calm, but we're trying, and I think everyone is doing really great. A lot of people are actually joining the Ukrainian army forces right now as well. And right now, currently, we have Ukrainian National Army entered city for defense. We're all together. I'm here with my family, with my parents, and we decided to stay for now because we don't see where actually it is safe in Ukraine right now at this moment. Staying in the city is a little bit safer. At least we have infrastructure here. We're not cut off the electricity. We're on Skype with you. We're Wi-Fi. Internet is working. We have all the supplies, water, and so on and so forth.
Thank you. Those were some residents there in some cities in Ukraine reacting after the attack by Russia. Of course, Africans too, many Africans too are in Ukraine. We have students, we have other influential Africans like Dr. Sunday Adelaja. He is one of the most popular Africans in Ukraine and in Europe too. He just sent out a video. I've been discussing with him. He just sent out a video a few hours ago to say that his life is being threatened because according to him, he is targeted for elimination by the Russians. So let's watch Dr. Sunday Adelaja about how Africans are living the situation of the war there in Ukraine.
Hello, everybody. This is DSA here, Dr. Sunday Adelaja, Pastor Sunday. I want to use this opportunity to thank everybody, all the people that have been supporting us, that have been praying for us, that have been asking about my whereabouts. This is a video that I've been looking forward to do in the last 48 hours. This is the first time I and my family have been able to have a place to put our head in the last 48 hours. We've been traveling. Sometimes we walk, sometimes we run, sometimes we're in the car, standing in the long queue of people who want to escape for their lives in Ukraine. I'd wanted to stay back and send my wife to try to get out of the country if necessary. But then I got an information that in a few days, that was 2 days ago, that the Russians were going to actually enter Kyiv. And from the American intelligence, we got to know that they have a list of people for elimination. And this is not ordinary people, but it is for influential people, people who have public opinion, and that I am on that list. And I know that I'm on the list because I already got, I was already a persona non grata in Russia since 2005. I've been a personal enemy of Vladimir Putin for close to 20 years now. He's banned me from going to Russia. They took, anyway, that's another story. So I know I will be on that list. But before I left, we were able to gather some African students in my house. Some people live with me, and some people came to join. But we have an underground bunker in our house, so everybody in my house now are in the underground bunker. I would have lived there, I would have stayed back, but when I was told that I am in the list and that Russia was going to enter the city, all my leaders in the church and people said I must leave. So I have to quickly arrange for myself and Pastor Bosse to go to a safe place. So as I'm talking to you right now, we are in a safe place. I cannot give you more details than that, but the most important thing is that we are no more in that place where the bomb and where the shelling, because the shelling, some of you saw the picture of the bridge that leads to my house, but we were able to escape before that was done. Otherwise, we would have been able to escape. So, the shelling is just all around our house. And so, as the things are right now, we just want to let you know that we're in a safe place. That's the most important thing. And we want to let you know that your prayers should keep on going for a lot of other people that are left in Ukraine, for Ukrainian citizens, a lot of millions of Ukrainian citizens, foreigners, students, families, yeah, just keep on praying for Ukraine. But I must tell you, I and my wife, we are in a safe place right now. Thank you for everything.
So much, Dr. Sunday Adelaja, one of the most influential Africans in Europe too, and a Nigerian who was very influential in implanting Christianity in Ukraine. Of course, we are still in discussion with Dr. Sunday Adelaja, and if the opportunity presents itself, we are going to be having him via Skype or via Zoom here on 90 Minutes in Africa. Kedia Malamfe, of course, you can now see the war is affecting us here in Africa in one way or the other.
It's clear that we have our citizens that are studying there, over 10,000 Nigeria, and even in our country over 1,000 that are studying in Ukraine, which is a concern for Africans, because if you want to analyze and look at all other African countries, they are students there, it's really affecting Africans. But where I would like to talk about is the second video we watched, which the man was talking how dangerous war is. And I asked myself this question: so they do know that war is dangerous, and they support arms group? They even give them weapons that they should come and fight. We are fighting in Africa is because of them. The killings in Africa is because of them. So they know how dangerous war is. 1 or 2 bombs in their country, they are running helter-skelter. They are crying. All superpowers are already talking. But when it happens in Africa, what's their stand? So for me, I just think that it's for them to learn a lesson, to know that when they send weapons in Africa, especially to arms groups that are not the government, for them to do what they are doing. There was one French woman that came out openly to say that Africans that are striking in Europe should go back to their country, and they are ready to support them with arms so that they should go and fight back home. So they know war is dangerous, but they are ready to finance. Look at what is happening there. Now they are the one crying. They should also learn and have conscience about the African people. To go proper to the debate in Russia and Ukraine, you see, before Russia comes out to speak like that, Russia knows his backup, because the system, the alliance system has always been there during the First World War, Second World War, and now it has always been there. If Russia comes out to challenge, Russia knows the power that will back him up. We've already seen a country like Syria that have come up to say openly that is backing up Russia, and there are others that are silent, especially leaders like Kim Jong-un, which we know he's somewhere sitting calmly waiting on how to come in, and other leaders. So America is very silent, even though the president comes and talks about sanctions, but nothing has been done. We've seen Great Britain that has placed already a ban on all flights from Russia into their country. So we expect that people should not die, even though they in Europe they wish death for Africans, but that will not be my prayer, because us Africans will respect and will value human life. So they should also learn. The advice they always give us to inclusive dialogue, talk to both parties, that's the lesson they always give us in Africa. So it's time for us Africans to also give them those same lessons. That it's time for them to drop their arms, go in for an inclusive dialogue, and bring out peace in Europe, because they are our bilateral partners. So we want them also to do the same thing as we are advising them. I believe if they do that, then the problem will come to an end. But I do fear Russia does not speak for nothing. Russia does not speak for nothing. Permit me to say this. You realize that the issue of territories has always been a problem in Europe. If you look at the First World War, you look at the Second World War, you realize that it was caused by that. You go to other countries, like after the war, you realize that Germany, the leader that came, Hitler, was there to bring back their territories. And you look at what Vladimir is doing, he's struggling to bring back the Soviet Union together by taking this territory and ruling over them. He has already declared and accepted the independence of 2 states under Ukraine. So we should also know that those states, when they come, Russia will be the one controlling them. And what is dangerous about it is that we are already seeing countries that are coming to support this, support that. And you go back to history, you realize that it's the same thing that happened. When it was about Serbia, Austria-Hungary came, Russia supported Serbia, Britain and France supported Austria-Hungary, and that was the outbreak of the First World War. Same with the Second World War, with the invasion of Poland. So that is how it always starts, and at the end there is a war. But I'm so happy at this time because it will not concern us Africans because we are no longer colonies. The First World War and Second World War concern us because we were colonies. Now we cry only as students that are there, and we know our various states will definitely bring back the children before Europe can go to war.
Thank you, Kedia Robert Malamfe. Of course, we now get the communique that has been sent out also by the African Union. And the man who doesn't speak with water in his mouth, Dr. Akujonako, is going to react to that. The communique states, the chair of the African Union and the chairperson of the African Union Commission urge the two parties to establish an immediate ceasefire and to open political negotiations without delay under the auspices of the United Nations in order to preserve the world from the consequences of planetary conflict and in the interest of peace and stability in international relations in service of all the peoples of the world. Of course, you've heard Dr. Akujonako. The African Union is calling for an immediate ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Do you think that Ukraine, Russia will listen to this and take it very serious?
Somewhere, I think the those who manage the African Union for some time are really suffering from what I call a cerebral malaria because sincerely, we have a lot of issues going on and around Africa. We have been expecting the African Union to act, and not only in statements, issuing statements. Such statements have been issued long ago. I will tell you that Russia is not ready to talk to anybody. Russia wanted to prove to the world that it takes actions when issues concerning him are at stake. And that is exactly what Russia has done. Within the African Union parameters, we equally think that there have been crises in Cameroon. The commission chair has passed in Cameroon for a courtesy. He has eaten, drunk, and wine up with the presidency in Yaoundé and the Star Building, and equally all of them have been saying that the situation is getting better. However, the situation is getting better. The African Union does not even have reports on the way forward of the issues. We are talking of the situation in Central African Republic. We are equally talking of the havoc we have noticed in Guinea-Conakry and in Mali. It is equally a shameful thing that the African Union is talking like a dog with his tail behind or in between his legs. He became knowing very well that Vladimir Putin would just have such statements grounded and thrown off a waste bin. We have seen very sincerely that it is again shocking that Vladimir Putin, in my opinion, decided to react in the way he's reacting. Remember, a lot of diplomacy has been to Moscow, to Kremlin, trying to tender the intention of Vladimir Putin down, but the guy still came out to say he is going to do what he wishes. And I'm just saying that the world does not even know where we're heading to, but to me, I think Russia is cutting himself away from the rest of the international community rather than him explaining of cutting Ukraine. I will see that just his attack on Ukraine within 48 hours has caused enormous economic damage to companies and organizations within Russia. And we are still saying if he has to delay for the next 2-3 months, I want equally to get people to know that Russia has been one of those countries since after the Cold War has been going under economic stress. It is the poorest nation among the G7 member countries. And I'm telling you, many people will give you analysis. You just get my brother Robert saying that there are allies like North Korea, there are allies like China. And I'm telling you, all those allies, when you look at them equally economically, Syria is a non-partisan member when it comes to international diplomacy. And so just gaining, it's a time maybe for them to become popular. So the Syrians saying they're in support of the Russian is normal, that when your brother scratch your back at one time, the other time you equally need to scratch his own back. The war in Syria saw the intervention of the Russian people. I'm telling you, Kim Jong-un has had a lot of hard times in the dream of Donald Trump, and again, he could not even show off his head. Now I believe it is time they too could make noise. I will tell you that the Americans, the Europeans, are concentrating in constructing and building strong economies rather than planting wars and weapons all over. Vladimir Putin speaks much of himself and how strong Russia is, but he has forgotten that he might be fighting a war against 27 strong economic nations and others with the same weapons of the same magnitude that is serving. Is it really possible that Russia can fight the world? This is just a euphoria. I mean, hypothetical that it will never exist. But I just love the intelligence of the United States, though I remember when I was coming, I remember one of my panelists said, Joe Biden had been behaving like a pastor, and I will tell you tactically, it's a lot of intelligence for you to approach a war which is not even of concern to you, which might not cause any harm to you, because Ukraine does not produce anything for the United States. They have a lot of interest to fight at this particular time. What we need is that we need a well of peace, and that is what everybody was clamoring, that Putin still have the time. But I was still shocked that Vladimir Putin himself made a statement that now he is prepared to send delegation for Minsk, that is in Belarus, to go and talk about peace. Is that not what we're supposed to talk 48 hours before his intervention? And that gives us again, he's going to reduce himself to a baby, because at one point the world will tell him that fight your fight and then you will call off the fight alone. Who becomes humiliated? Who is then threatened? Is Russia cutting an enemy for the citizens of Russia, or is he making more friendly decisions? I know it is the past, the history. Russia would not like is that implanting NATO missiles and whatsoever forces in Ukraine. But I am honestly thinking that Russia need to embrace the world. Russia need to embrace the world. We need a more peaceful world. Just imagine Russia joining the European Union. In the next 2 or 3 days or 5 months, Russia said it's going to be a member of the European Union. It will be intelligent. And that Russia decide maybe to curb down the same act and become a member even of the Organization for Latin or North American States. Just imagine that. And that he's going to adhere with some basic rules. I have told people, when you look around Russia, you realize that the state in Russia lives his life on military. They live like military-mongering nations. But then the world has bypassed the level of military. After the devastation of the First and the Second World War, we look of the world of friendly people. A world where people can mix up and come together at once. A world where we can forget about arms conflicts and nuclear power. Remember what happened with Canada. Canada could be one of those nations that said, I have the capability to have nuclear weapons, but I'm not ready to host it, because we know the consequences of that which may cause. But these are the type of weapons where people like Russians are bragging around with. That is the consequences which, when you lack knowledge, I mean, there is a lot of issues of intelligence. When people look at the position of China today, nobody can tell you whether China is really for or China is against. China knows that economic power is better than military might. China has rose to the race of top economic powers rather than military energy. We don't need that. So China will come somehow to support Vladimir Putin. It will be very difficult. And so the Europeans, they decide to stay on their laurels, will send protection. Like they said, they're getting protection for the president. He has claimed that it's a way, and NATO is going to do that in a few days to give his life some peace. And then whatever Russia is going to do, it should continue discharging a missile. And remember what becomes a problem. When you stockpile a lot of weapons, there is always a need for you to flex your muscle around. I believe at one time, after 7-8 years, Russia always think like exercising some military within the region, and that is just what they are doing. We are going to see in even 3 or 4 weeks, if the European Union does not event, the war will die down normally. That's what happened in Donetsk. That is what happened in Crimea, and they withdraw back their troops home. That which means that it was just an exercise, like a footballer preparing for a Champions League game has some friendly matches to take over. And so Russia might just be one of those exercises. But I cry much for the lives that have been lost. I have a video which I tried to put on circulation this morning, and Facebook has to strip it off, not for us to see the realities of what is going. Because when the war is going on, at times it's not even the military, because there is what we call the military target. In war, we attack military objects and not civilian objectives. The moment you start bumping airport, the moment you start bumping markets, the moment you start bumping civilian institutions, it becomes a problem. We are moving away. Russia is promising to sentence and judge those who have committed heinous crimes, human rights crimes in Crimea and Donetsk during the uprising in 2014. And at the same time, within 72 hours, Russia has already committed a lot of those crimes. He is going to be out of the world map, and we are just watching. That is going to be very difficult for Russia. I'm just telling you, the Russian people will have Vladimir Putin to blame if there are any consequences to follow.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akojonatko, for that analysis. Of course, right now I want to say that we are receiving news. Russia has attacked civilian buildings, with several people killed there. And of course, when Ndiwum, while watching Russian TV this morning, they also displayed one of their latest weapons, Saturn II, which is a weapon of mass destruction.
Well, I think before this program started, backstage, I was telling you that I am not sure that the Russian president really knows what he is doing, because he might be very strong, but he might not be very stronger than the whole world. You know, in 1914, when the First World War started, the U.S. did not come in. The U.S. stayed until when the Germans started exercising overzealousness with the use of the German U-boats that went to the sea, killing the neutral American citizens, and that is when the U.S. came in and put a stop to it. I am still one of those who think that Russia might be planting a trap for our own self without knowing. Because people should not so much get excited about the bombardments that happened 2 days ago or whatsoever. But I wanted to make this anecdote. I happened to read a bit of this man called Putin. You know, Putin happened to have been on the African soil for 4 years. And the story of this man shows that he's a warmonger. He's part of the people who supported Emerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe and Samora Machel of Mozambique, forming them as African liberators and giving them war strategies to fight the colonialists. Because at that time, you know, Russia, I wanted to make a quick correction to my brother Kedia. During the First World War, Russia did not fight alongside Austria-Hungary. I think alongside the British. Russia is one of the countries that came in for the central axis, and at the end of the war, they distanced themselves from having anything to do with colonies in Africa and the world at large. If at that time they were giving the world the impression that they did not want colonies, and today they are going into attack Ukraine because Ukraine opted to join NATO, Northern Atlantic Treaty Organization, of which I know that in the principle of state sovereignty, you have the choice. I have my choice to be Kedia's friend. I have my choice to be Derick's friend. And I don't see, and let me give you this quote that the man made yesterday. Putin quote, "At the end of the war, I want Ukraine to be free and friendly to Russia. Free and friendly to Russia. And I want US to retreat from our borders because I wanted US to know that they need to stop taking Ukraine as a puppet." End of quote. Who is Putin to dictate who should make friendship with Ukraine? I know that we are analyzing for what we are seeing, but in the background there's a lot of built-up stories that led to what he did. But like everybody said on this platform, he would have started where they are supposed to end, because they will likely end on the table, and that would have been a wise way. And now, which lesson, because we are talking about the impact of the Ukraine attack on Africans, like some people will say, Europe thought that Africa was a testing ground for their war machines. Only 2 days, they are already shouting, running and hiding. And what beats my imagination is the fact that because it concerns the white man, the whole world is in commotion. Everybody is talking about it. And even us Africa, it is on every African lip. Whereas, come to Mali, I did not hear Russia mention Mali. I did not hear them mention Niger. I've not heard Ukraine. I'm only hearing, I've not even heard that Ukraine has ever condemned any action in Mali. I've not heard that Ukraine has condemned anything in Nigeria. Boko Haram has been dealing with Cameroon. I've not heard them speak. Anglophone crisis, people have been dying like flies. I've not heard them come out to say anything. But then, today, just 2 days of bombardment, they are running hater-scatter. I am not saying that I am in support of war, but I'm saying that if the world should keep and fold their arms, watch Russia and Putin unfold, we are nursing another Hitler that will create a war that at the end of the war, no particular reason will be given as to why the war was fought, because that is what happened in 1933. And at the end of the war, Hitler when he hung himself.
Thank you, Ndiwum Emmanuel. Song Derick, don't you see this also as a way for Putin to showcase his strength across the world and also across Africa? Because right now, as you can see, if you're looking at memes in the social media, I mean, many Africans have the impression that Putin is really a very powerful person, and they might begin to move up to him as a covering within the international community.
I instead see it otherwise, Mr. Boh. I'm one of the persons whose philosophy feels like it's better, it's far honorable to lose power protecting lives than to gain power losing lives. So if Vladimir Putin wants to gain power, want to be recognized as the strongest man in the world by letting others down, by killing others, to me it's a very, very bad example. But there is a lesson Africans should draw from what is happening in the West. It is true that African life is secondary to the whites. And it is equally true that Africans have sold their pride and their personality, because we seem to be suffering from a very high rate of inferiority complex. On every WhatsApp status, it is our hearts are out with Ukraine. On every African, it is we are out with Ukraine. But I've even seen some celebrities in my country who have never talked about what is happening under their nostrils, talking about what is happening in Ukraine. If Africans cannot talk about what is happening, that is the AU, the decorative flower bed AU that you just read a communique they sent, calling on the two parties to cease fire. But we've not seen a joint communique asking them, or we have not seen a joint effort for them to end the wars that are happening around them. How funny is it that the father, the so-called father of Africa, is interested in the neighbor's children and allow her own proper children to be killed without words? I think Africans should learn a lesson. The West, the world is one, but the West have a role. They want to showcase their military might, of which we don't have. I don't see anything we should be talking. What should Cameroon be telling Russia? When Russia can crush Cameroon in 2 days, what should we say? We should maintain our lines because that's not our competing ground. But what is more important is that no war brings peace. At the end of the First World War, when the world swore that it shall never happen again, it took Germany and Americans' policy of isolationism and appeasement to bring back a Second World War, which was more devastating. And then you will bear with me, Mr. Boh, that the military might and prowess that exists now was never like that then, and people cried. If there is going to be a full-blown war, then if people have to exercise their military might, we are just going to tell you clearly that the world is coming to an end and God should prepare a new creation, because if those things are tested, there will be worldwide destruction. That's why I say Africa should mind her part. Let us solve our problems. We have bigger problems. Let the West solve their problems, and we should look at what is happening in Africa. I can't bear to come to terms that AU looks at what is happening in Mali, what is happening in Guinea, what's happening in Cameroon, Nigeria, and they are silent. People are dying. How many thousands of persons have died in Cameroon? We are talking of thousands of people who have died. How many people are dying in other countries, and these people are looking as if nothing is happening, and then they are going to condemn Ukraine-Russia attacks, whereas they have no words, except they are proving the point that they are puppets, and they are just telling the godfathers that, please, godfathers, if you are behaving like this, how do you want your children to do?
Thank you so much, Song Derick. Kedia, Malafa, I don't know whether you had any last word to say over the topic so that we move forward to the next topic of the day.
You see, the African Union has already done his job. You know, the African Union is very powerful to give out community. And in all cases that we've named here, the African Union has always give out their communique. But me, I want to talk about the creation of the African Union. Their objective is on how to maintain peace and order in Africa, not in Europe. Maintain peace and order in Africa. If they are already going to Europe, then they are already out of their own objective, because when any organization is created, the rules are there, everything is being written. So if they are going out, then they should have another agenda. I want to talk about diplomacy. At times, diplomacy is not what we see. Diplomacy at times is not what we see. There are many hidden agenda in diplomacy, which at times I simply say that if Russia stands to threaten the other country, I don't think Vladimir Putin is mad. He should have a backup. There's this saying that if you are walking in a street and you meet, especially here in Douala, for instance, you are walking in the street and you meet a 14-year-old boy tells you, grand frère, rentre. You should go back, because that 14-year-old boy knows what he has. Secondly, Vladimir Putin is a warmonger. He does not care about the economic whatsoever that we'll name here. He knows it. He has been in the country for long. And he just did again another bombardment as we are here. So he knows the consequences. So he's not ignorant the way we may think that he will look at all those aspects. I still go back to talk about the First World War, which I know very well. When the Austrian Duke was assassinated in Serbia, Austria-Hungary gave them their 13th ultimatum. And the person that declared that if Austria-Hungary attacked Serbia was Russia. We know how all the countries that came about until when the vessels of America was attacked, and that's how the war came. So when we are seeing now this case of Ukraine coming up and countries are saying that, all these countries that are saying, we know, he just named only 2 countries that Russia came in. We know the backup that Russia did in Central African Republic when Francois Bozizi wanted to bring some forces. We also even know the part player, yes, we even know what Russia is doing in one country in the CEMAC zone, that their most powerful army they have in one country in CEMAC zone. We know the influence of Russia and Israel in that country. So to go further, to conclude, my own stand, I know war is very bad, but it gives me another feeling. Let the West know how the war is. They know about the First World War, they know about the Second World War, and they know it is bad, but they send weapons for Africans to kill themselves. So us Africans, we are watching. We welcome internally displaced from Europe in Africa, but we want them from Ukraine. We welcome them in Africa, but we are calling on them to have an inclusive dialogue and solve their problems.
Thank you so much, Kedia Robert, Malamfe. Ladies and gentlemen, time for us now to move to the main topic, the intertwined relationship between success and godfatherism in Africa. What does it take to succeed? Because based on observations and reports coming in from various African countries, many people have complained that very talented young people who do not seem to have a backing do not find it easy to get to positions of responsibility. We are talking here about the children of catechists. We are talking here about the children of hawkers, the children of farmers who are found in villages, some of them so talented, who want to contribute in the development of their countries in Africa. But because they do not know someone who knows someone, it is very difficult for them to make it to the top or to have the opportunity to serve their various countries. And I decided to come up with this topic, the intertwined relationship between success and godfatherism in Africa. Why is it that in many African countries you must have a godfather before you succeed, even if you are talented? Even when it comes to football, sometimes the football players We watch on screen, we might believe that they are the best, but I bet you sometimes it's not so. We have very wonderful, highly talented and skilled players across Africa in villages, but just because they don't know someone who knows someone, it's difficult for them to be caught up to defend the colors of their nation. And of course, I would like Dr. Akujanako to launch this topic. What can be the cause of this godfatherism syndrome in Africa?
Yeah, one of the things we need to know is that Africans have always believed that their nations are rocket, the environment is rough, the policies are not good, the leaders are dictators, like we have in Cameroon. Others depend on long life-saving mandates, and in that cause for us to succeed, there is a need for those going in front to pull the hands of their children with them. And so within it, you will realize that if we have to be served, the country will be more served if we have our children in deep and strategic positions that will protect a similar interest. This will not mean that it is only Cameroon. When you look at what is going on presently in Gabon, you imagine that the father left and the son took over. When you look at Togo, you realize that the father left, the son took over. The most humiliating part was that the father of another son was assassinated and killed by the same people we had thinking that killed the father. The president of that nation came and installed the son as the president of that nation. So you can imagine the history. It is deeply rooted. And so we too, we are equally believing that if I have my child tomorrow, it is easy for him to teach or to give lectures in the schools to which I belong than finding another school different from where I have never been. So it is a whole lot. It's an institutionalized type of politics. Remember, we are talking of the Biaism or the Frankist movement in Cameroon, which people believe that will be going to salvage a mandate to who is going to rule Cameroon after his long-time serving king, and the kingdom under which he has created gives feeling that the son will take over after the father. For us to protect the better interest...
But just say Cameroon is not a kingdom, Cameroon is a republic.
I'm just telling you that it is a kingdom. We don't need to declare it what is a kingdom. We are celebrating 40 years in power very soon. March is just some few days ahead. You will see that in United Kingdom we celebrated the Queen 60 or 70 years reigning. So it means that we are all celebrating something of achievement. It is the longest serving president in the African continent. Longest even democratically elected serving president throughout the world. When you count the number of democracies existing in the world, you realize that Kedia we call the young boy, the young man whom he is ready to sacrifice and kill himself for him to exist. Meaning somebody who is supporting another will feel that the person should live, then let him better die. Just imagine the euphoria, the confusion in the medulla oblongata, the brain of a generation that depend on such an incarnation that people think really represent the interest. We have a lot of them in the armies. A NAM is created for them. They have their traditional institutions to other nations. Such institutions are reserved only for the bourgeoisie. There is a call the champion. I want you to get in Cameroonian standard. Such schools are reserved for some people. Why are we not? Scholarships are reserved for those people. The school of national security, police school, when you get to the rank of commissioners and inspectors of police, just a group of people are privileged. And they will tell you, when you go there, they will name that this one is the son of minister, this one is the son of... It means that somebody that is born in Ako, somebody that was born in Benakuma, somebody that was born in Kolofata, who has no son or mother or father in Yaoundé, can never leave Kolofata to become a minister in the republic. Somebody that is unable to eat the fruits of his labor. We mean you have given a secondary school, you go to school normally. People have decided to replace meritocracy with mediocrity. This is how Africa has saw it, and that's why we cannot develop. Remember, the Russian president equally just answered the Kenyan ambassador to the United Nations, telling you that if you cannot solve common starvation problem, you want to come and solve a small conflict. What do you know? International diplomacy. This is a type of brain we are thinking, but I believe there are equally some good boys. There are equally some good nations that have been emerging around, but the concept is really killing. That Ako will not advance if they don't know his father. So people need to ask you, tu es ici à part de qui? The moment you call your father's name, your file is gone. And you see your father who's sending you there, just get to tell them that I sent you. Some people just need a small note. Do we need that to encourage, to get successful in a nation? So Africa, the causes are enormous. Some people believe that they can never come out from their farms. And those who are in the offices believe they can never leave their offices. Imagine the scandal we just had surrounding the National Assembly. the National Assembly of Cameroon is an inherited domain. As the president inherited the palace in a 2D, the president of the National Assembly has equally inherited the National Assembly to belong to his people. What are you thinking? For us to re-language and relocate those who have inherited these state houses, it takes us, remember, it happens in Africa like a joke within the week when President Kenyatta said he's going to support Raila Odinga. Get into Kenya. They will tell you that the Kenyattas are the ones that own Kenya. So nobody will rule if you're not coming from the Kiyuyu. A lot of those conflicts and tribal issues. Somebody will tell you openly that if you're coming from this region, you never rule Cameroon. If you're coming from this region, look at what is happening in Nigeria. With a few days that Goodluck Jonathan took over Nigeria, the Northerners brought out the Boko Haram conflict, saying that the presidency in Nigeria belongs to them. Just imagine that. What do we think? If Africa need to advance, I want us to believe like that Declaration of Independence of the United States, 1774. They said every human being was born equal in dignity and in right. Whether you are born where, Africans will be given the possibility. The fact that we have submitted to the same process of education, we should have the same privilege to own and integrate into offices. There are a lot of causes in Africa, which I believe equally that it takes a single man with a good heart to change the direction and thoughts of a whole nation. We need good leadership to change this particular confusion that the youths are undergoing. A continent with 80% of youths, but the least recruited or working. A lot of those 80% youths are unemployed because a lot of them come from wayward societies or wayward families.
Thank you, Dr. Ako Janako. I give the microphone now to Ndiwum Emmanuel to diagnose the situation from his own end. We've listened to Dr. Ako. Ndiwum, what is a diagnosis of the situation, the godfatherism in Africa?
Yes, you know, the new curriculum vitae in Africa and some particular countries is now a call from a high office. Permit me to say that I struggled to do some comparative analysis in some few countries in Africa. And when I went to Chad, I discovered that 80% of the lucrative jobs in Chad were given to the Davis family, from military, financial institutions, and all whatnot. And then I struggled to look at the case of Algeria. You discover that Algeria under Bouteflika, before he was bundled out of the office, he was even a lame man moving on a wheelchair, and he was championed by some wayward youths in that country that he was the man of the day. Without him, Algeria could not survive. Do you know that the wife had direct access to the Algerian treasury, of which some ministers in that country did not have that direct access to the Algerian treasury? You come back to Gabon, it's a dynasty. It's a dynasty. And in that very Gabon, the Bongos, just the name Bongo, earns you a top and high-paid job in that country.
You're forgetting of the name Bia.
No, I'm coming. We should not.
There is a Nasiri Bia of the littoral, the central region, the governor. A lot of people have changed their name.
Not from Suez.
It's okay.
His own Bia is even different. It's BEA.
No, leave the story. It's okay. Don't call your neighbors. Call what is going on in your country.
Look at Gabon. If you go to the Air Max company in Gabon, 90% of those who work there are the Bongos. If you look at the case of the Afri Aviation and National Petrolier in Gabon, it is owned by one family, which means that Gabon is completely in the hands of one person. Now come back to Cameroon, because they say charity begins from home and never ends at home. Tell me that the state parastatals in Cameroon, give me one catechist, my dear viewers, whose son ever worked in Sonara. Give me one farmer from Sabongari, from Kukwini, that the son or the daughter ever worked in Sonara. If you go to CDC, if such a man was to be granted a top job there with a degree, know that it was a job to be sweeping, to be cleaning, to be clearing. You know that in our country, there is a particular region that the children of those regions are more intelligent than the other parts of the country. If you look at the sous-prefects, what they call the SDOs in this country, 90% of them come from one region. We cannot substitute or subscribe to the notion that those regions have the most intelligent and finest brains of this nation. We have seen situations where a name has been written in Cameroon. Results are published in the morning, and in the afternoon, the results are dropped, and in the evening, a different list comes out with different names in different positions. That is godfatherism. We have seen situations in Cameroon where you pass Senages, you pass ENS, you go to orals, they ask you to venir avec qui, and at the end of the day, and I'm a living example, you go out and your name never appears on the final list. In our country, we know that to go into the professional schools like ENAM, ENS, we have a special and a specific standard price for that. That is one of the reasons why you discover that the Cameroonian diaspora, like other African diaspora, have decided to leave the continent, and they are doing well elsewhere out of Africa because they could not succeed back home. And the question now is, does it mean that back home they could not pass EMIA, they could not pass ENAM, they could not pass Senages, they could not pass ENSET? And in Europe today, they are doing so big to the level that they can even create jobs back in their countries. Whereas those who were bribed to go into ENAM, ENS, EMIA are here, stealing and embezzling all the money in the country, and they are unable to create a job to curb unemployment. What a scenario. Africa, where are you going to? We need to sit back, think the way forward, and cancel out this mentality where meritocracy has been replaced by mediocrity.
Thank you, Ndiwum Emmanuel. Getting now to Kedia Robert. Of course, they have cited a series of countries too, but also since they are saying that charity begins at home, they are laying particular emphasis on Cameroon. Dr. Ko said Cameroon is like a kingdom. Of course, Ndiwum has mentioned the reality in Gabon. He has mentioned the reality in Algeria. And also, too, of course, we have other correspondents that will be coming in. We have Sierra Leone, Uganda, and I think we have Sierra Leone, Uganda, and South Africa that will be giving their own experiences in the course of the program. But I wanted you to give your own diagnosis and, of course, basically react to some of their own points that have been raised by Dr. Aku and Ndiwum.
When we talk about kingdom, it simply means that a son inherited the country from his father. But in the case of Cameroon, President Paul Biya was a son of a catechist, and he's a president. I don't know if his father was a president. They named other countries and said what they said, but in Cameroon, there is nobody from the presidential family that is having an administrative position in Cameroon that I know, unless they will educate me on that. Talking about the brothers of the president and the rest, I don't know of any that ever worked even after they died. I mean, from the family of President Paul Biya. But I would not like to stay there. I would just like to pass out my education to those that are viewing us. What is important is that any youth watching us, you need to put your effort. Do not be discouraged for those that will talk about nepotism, tribal favoritism, and the rest. It exists in Europe. We'll talk about presidents, people that are president and their sons are president. Maybe I'll go to America and quote an example of a leader that was there and his son also became a president.
Becoming is not inheriting after him.
Now you've given your own definition. So that's your own view, which I respect. We are in a democracy. So we should all know this, that you can be a child of a nobody and you become somebody. Put your effort, push hard, and you become somebody. There are people that if I ask you here, you will not be able to explain. Like somebody like the former prime minister, if I ask you who is his father, how did he get his education to become a minister in Cameroon at the age of 27 years, you will not answer. The present minister of public health, which is the youngest, who is his father? Where does he come from? What family is he coming from? So those are the aspects I would like to tell all Africans watching us, that yes, tribalism, favoritism, and nepotism does exist, but we should put effort. One of the reasons why we see such aspect is that most of people that are privileged, they have the money, they send their children to good schools and even abroad, and when they come back, they will definitely have this opportunity because of their educational strength that they have. And so we should know that even our president in Cameroon too, he was privileged, even though he was on scholarship. He went to Europe and he had a perfect education and he came back. So they are children of rich people too, that they can give that education to their children and have that position. It is in Europe. It is in America. But I know the case of Africans, as all Africans have become critics but run away from participating in nation building like election and the rest. They run away, but they sit behind their powerful critics. That's the problem we have in Africa. So what I would say is that all youth should be able to put effort, do everything possible, and denounce any case of nepotism they see, denounce any case of tribalism they see. If they are able to denounce this, then we will be impacting our continent positively, and not to sit behind. We don't denounce, we don't give facts, we sing, and every day the same thing is happening. But what I will conclude by saying in my country is that I have children of farmers, catechists, children of nobody, people that we don't even know the name of their parent, but today they are ministers in this country, which I think I will not take my country in the perspective to say, I'm not saying that there is no nepotism in Cameroon, I'm not saying that. But the way we are portraying it is actually not the way it happened. Or maybe it's the same in all other African countries, but we portray it this way, and I fear when it is portrayed this way, it may discourage the children of commoner to put a lot of effort, because some people talk and make them feel that anything they do will be useless because this is the situation of favoritism and the rest in the country.
No,
thank you.
1 minute. We are still making them to know that they should sit up, like you are saying. Okay. But as you are sitting up, know that there are impediments ahead. When you are sitting up, your pocket should also be sitting up, because in my country they buy it, Kedia, they enter.
But Ndiwum Emmanuel, let's give the microphone to Derick. Of course, your own diagnosis of the situation. You have some few minutes before we move over to Sierra Leone, South Africa, and Sierra Leone, South Africa, and Uganda to get how it happens there.
Thank you very much, Boh. The idea of godfatherism in Africa is what has crippled Africa to its knees, is what has brought Africa down, because those who seem to know nothing are given everything to go about in the country or in the continent, and that is why nothing is working. How do you explain that before you go for a public examination, it is traded like stock in the market? There is a market price attached to an examination, that you know if you have 3 million, you can go to this school. If you have 2 million, you can go to this school. If you have 5 million. It becomes a problem because each time you buy your way in, you wait. It becomes like trading, buying and selling. When you buy your way in, what position you gain becomes an asset to you, and you forever sell it. Mr. Boh explained the reason why most people sit in offices and do nothing but look for their economic gains, their economic benefit. Why should I buy an examination perhaps to enter INAM for 3 million, and you expect me to sit in the office and not regain my 3 million? And even profit, because business, the main objective of a business is profit maximization. So you sell the position and most people gain it. And that explains the reason that godfatherism, you know, the godfather is always the superior to the godson. And the godsons and daughters are answerable to the godfathers. You will agree with me, these things happen in Nigeria. The governors, before you win an election, you must know somebody. And what happens is that, like say in a country like Nigeria, a rich governor who sees that his term of office is out decide to sponsor for you. And these things always have agreement on pieces of papers. There is tithing going on. Mr. Boh, I've seen situation where somebody goes to write ENS and it is agreed that money be deposited in accounts to make sure that names come out. And salaries have to be partitioned for a certain number of months. I mean, there are glaring situations that happen. And the sad news is this. The idea of godfatherism has relinquished the power of people who know something. Because each time they want to come to the limelight, those who seem to know nothing are given the opportunity. How do you explain to me that when Africans leave African soil, they excel so much? How do you explain to me that the doctor, that just gave the contribution from
Dr. Sunday Adelaja.
Dr. Sunday is very influential, and maybe he's not even recognized by his own country. There was a time.
I want you to. I think you will need to land so that I get the order.
Yes, there was a time that late Mugabe had to refuse the West from sending back old retired nurses back to his country because the West decided to squeeze all the intelligence and send back. But the question was, what happened that they left the country? If we refuse to give a fertile ground for our own citizens to grow, I am one of the persons who believe that the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where we water it. But if our leaders decide to lock the taps for us to water our own grasses to be green, then it is important we cross over to the other side where the grass is green.
Thank you, Song Derick. Let's now move over to South Africa and get our consultant and, of course, our representative there in South Africa, Ntozolizwe Benjamin, as well as after that we'll go to Sierra Leone. So just cue the two at once, our producer Eli. We will get Jacob Samis Hallowell, who is our correspondent there in Sierra Leone, as well as Ntozolizwe Benjamin, about how godfatherism oppresses them. We will also like our broadcast technician to add the second topic of godfatherism to the Facebook broadcast so that people can be able to know what we are talking about. So let's move over to South Africa and then Sierra Leone.
Colleagues, thank you very much, 90 Minutes in Africa, for giving us this opportunity to be here today. And then on the topic of the intertwined relations of success and godfatherism. I am Ntozolizwe Benjamin Mknebe, and I'm a South African professional and businessman. And then I help engineering executives to make sure that they get their return on investment by making sure that they synchronize people, processes, and systems in order for me to make sure that they optimally perform in terms of their return on investment. I make sure that I teach all the engineering executives in terms of the equipment life cycle. So thank you very much, Boh, for giving me this opportunity on the subject of the intertwined success, relationships, and then the godfatherism. In South Africa at the moment, I know you guys, you understand South Africa has been on the news for several things, and amongst those things, one of them is corruption. And then how does corruption happen? It happens because of godfatherism that is in politics, where someone who is in parliament in a bigger position will then have a proxy that is serving in his businesses, and then in that way all the money or all the projects that are happening in their provincial or government or national government will be directed to that person who is under this godfatherism in this case. Yes, there are people who are there who are saying that the 3% of...
Of course, let's get Sierra Leone, or the situation in Sierra Leone.
In contemporary democracy, politics of godfatherism has become a universal issue in the political development in my country, Sierra Leone. Certainly, politics of fatherism have centered every hook and crane of every institution in Africa. especially Sierra Leone. Corruption and mismanagement remains a major cause of Sierra Leone to make a meaningful progress in improving the lives of ordinary citizens. It has hit the progress and development of this country. So how can we grow with success when the issue of corruption is hitting the fabric of development in our nation? Because people are screening themselves, keeping sacred cow. Those who they know that really these are corrupt officials. They don't chase them, rather than they are chasing their opponent, chasing opposition leader. Mind you, these guys have come and they have gone, and you are in power. And you are in power, your men are massively looting the resources of this country, and you are not chasing them. And when the ACC commissioner, who is Francis Ben Kelfala, was asked, why is...
Thank you so much, Jacob Samis Hallowell from Sierra Leone. I think we get the last reaction from Uganda. We get the situation in Uganda. Our correspondent there, Barasa Moses, has been observing the phenomenon of godfatherism in Uganda and wants to send in his own view.
Good morning, and good morning to everyone on 90 Minutes Africa, and whoever is going to be participating in this discussion. My name is Barasa Moses. I am from Uganda, and actually right now I'm reporting from Kampala. I'm a subscriber to the 90 Minutes platform. I'm a member, and at the same time, I'm a follower. Today, I am submitting about the relationship between success and good fatherism in Africa. I am here to report and probably share with someone going to listen to this or participating as like me, that this is a very good topic, and at the same time, it is something that we needed to seriously discuss and put everything out so that people can understand. Good fatherism, according to me, I find it as a norm that has come out and developed so much in African politics, developed so much in African way of living, whereby someone would do something based on who is backing him. And probably in most cases, it's always about people who are a bit financial okay, people who are well placed. They get identified with others who are not well off, and they begin a project of their own. They begin a political agenda of their own. They begin some activity that they feel can impact their lives. And mostly you find that most of these things being done by or through godfatherism always don't have a good foundation. Always they have short-term success. And here to me, I believe that good success, or success that is worked for, that is built on a good foundation, that is built on academic achievements, that is built on hard work, that is built on smart brains, cannot be outlived by the success built on godfatherism. Godfatherism usually end miserably. And this is a problem that has really affected Africa. Most people are doing things based on who mentors them, or who they listen to, or who supports them. Yet, we have better brains in Africa, good leaders in Africa, hardworking people in Africa, smart brains in Africa, good technology in Africa that can be mentored, that can be worked on, that can be developed without...
Barasa Moses giving the situation of godfatherism in Uganda. Of course, we have just received a message from Ghana Good afternoon, gentlemen in the studio. You are doing a great job, and I'm watching you live from Ghana. The problem we have in Africa, as one of your families said, is lack of leadership. The mess in Africa is being orchestrated by our so-called leaders. If I should tell you what we are going through in Ghana, you'll be surprised now. See what is happening in Ukraine. This is the time Africa should wake up. We need to start running our own affairs. We need to push away the white and govern ourselves, and that cannot be done by the old men who go to EU meetings and be sleeping, who are only interested in enriching themselves and their cronies. That is, my name is Jacques, writing you from Ghana. Good afternoon to all in the panel, and I am Litwa Parfait, and I'm enjoying the program. There's a message coming in. Ben Toko, the form of governance system is not limited to Cameroon. Nevertheless, the model is common in countries with limited resources, rent-seeking, and patronage. As such, leaders or elites within the ruling system of this nature tend to reproduce themselves within the system through their children, relatives, and the likes in order to hold on to power and continue the cycle. Of course, let me get this or other message coming in from one of our, in South Africa, of course, someone watching us from South Africa who happens to be very close to the government but does not want to be named. He says, Honorable President, I'll be very reluctant to do a video to show my face because I don't want to attract reprisals to myself. But I can confirm without fear of contradiction that in South Africa, it is not what, I can confirm that in South Africa, it is not what you know, it is who you know that matters, especially in terms of access to jobs and resources. If you are not a card-carrying member of the ANC, you are unlikely to get ahead in life. If you could listen to Mr. Molesi Mbeki on YouTube, the younger brother of the former president, Thabo Mbeki, you will get the gist of what is happening in this country. People who join the ANC, including the youth, are careerists who want to get access to government tenders, not people who want to serve. When the ANC is celebrating its anniversaries, you must see the kind of cars that are driven there and amount of money spent on liquor. Young, beautiful girls who attend such occasions who end up in the bed of ministers. The murders that occur before an election for positions. I was once in Russia in the end of 2007 where I bought a beautiful watch and my friends from South Africa told me that I must have a bodyguard to wear it downtown, Johannesburg, because there is one police to 20 criminals who himself is another criminal. I was told in Russia there are 20 police to one criminal. And I mean, the message is just so long. Unfortunately, we cannot be able to read all of that. He could not send very long messages. This very long message is Brown from Yaoundé. Your message is really long. Good afternoon to you in the studio. I like your program and the fact that you are educating us, the youth and the government. I think godfatherism is what is killing Africa and Cameroon in particular, and this push some educated youths into dirty practices like scamming. That's my own contribution. The government needs to reduce corruption, give room to young people to also lead the nation. I'm Oku Naftali Kum from Boya. Oh, guys, the topics we need to do the last tour to be able to end the show. I've been with Dr. Akojanako. Dr. Akojanako, your last word on this topic. I think today we had this topic as the main one, but of course, because of happenings in Ukraine and Russia, we had to make two topics, and so we might not have had the time to really dig deep. But I think what we have said is important and is going to create the impact it's supposed to create.
One of the things I've been crying for Cameroon, I want us, Africa equally, that I want a nation that counts on each and every son and daughter, a nation that makes everybody belonging, a nation that gives all Cameroonians that they all belong to one and indivisible Cameroon, rather than a propagated political agenda. We need a nation where the citizens can sit together, dine together. In fact, when you see the spirit, like others are saying, that just the war in Ukraine after ending, you realize that some young men decide to send their wives to their mother-in-laws and that they are staying back to fight. It was really appealing. Telling you that the people have a love for that nation. There are some Cameroonians now, I'm telling you, that if a bomb blasts in Yaoundé, some people will find themselves already in Central African Republic. Those whom we think are supposed to protect us. Meaning you don't even think of serving a nation, you are serving yourself. You are there to be served. We need a nation where we can dedicate our own life to that nation. People should give us a reason that if we are citizens of one and indivisible Africa, once it comes to Africa, not the one AU will stand to talk when he cannot talk if issues are happening in his backyard. We are talking of the situation in Ethiopia, where Ethiopia hosts the African Union headquarters. We did not see them. In Chad, nobody. Now we are talking of Mali, Cameroon. We need that sense. When we are talking, the absence of godfatherism, I'm telling you that, gives an equity, fairness, justice within the system. Not the one that somebody manipulates justice to resemble him. Somebody is sent to prison because that person is a boyfriend to another big man. That person is sent to prison because the family is wealthy. Some people are more protected because he's the son of the president. He has a business deal with the son of the president. Imagine those things. We need, if a nation needs to grow, like I said, in Niger, you will imagine that the former president got some people who came and advised him that he should stand again for re-election for the third mandate. The guy arrested all those guys, that they are the criminals of the nation. This is the sincerity within a nation. I have said I'm ruling for 2 mandates and nothing else. Why are you encouraging me to stand? The nation belongs to us all, and every citizen should be given that light. Imagine we are talking here, we reach a nation where we can talk to one another when things are sincere and stop using politics on every instance. Cameroon, Africa is a blessed nation. I want to tell you that in geopolitics, they will tell you that in the United States, when the world economy is shaking, the person that comes to survive the world is Africa. That's why you said Africa is at the table of juxtaposition. We need a sincere continent. We need a sincere Cameroon. Meritocracy has its place, and we should encourage that. Scholarship should be distributed to all. Meritocracy.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kojonako. Kedia Malafe, your last word.
Yes, I accept with everyone that we have that problem all over Africa. And it is so happened that at times people are affiliated, like the gentleman from South Africa that affiliated with the ANC and the rest. Those are the aspects that we see. But for us to stop this, especially at the political level, because at the economic level is actually not a problem. Because you go to Europe, there are companies that is a family company that you as a child in the company, you need to work there. I cannot tell an Igbo man that you have your shop, you should not bring your child to work family there. So those are economic aspects. But now I see that the problem comes here at the level of the political perspective, where people who are in position, they bring their children. But what is also clear is that there is nothing we will say if we see a child of a minister in a particular school and we conclude. No, we are not saying that children of rich people, they are very dull. That's not what we are saying. And we also have the children of poor people that are in those institutions. But what I want to say is that when we see such cases, as Africans, we should be able to denounce them, especially when we have proof. If there is a public exam, as one of the panelists said that he has experienced one that is 3 million whatsoever, denounce it. That's the first aspect. We should learn to be able to denounce. When we denounce it, then we'll be able to come to a better African country. And for the children of commoners that are struggling, please don't give up. Don't look at the situation and you stay there. Why should I go to school when I know it is the child of this? No. You have your own star. You have your own future. You have your own bright light that you can be able to fight through this and succeed.
Thank you, Kedia Malafe. Do you remember your last word on this topic?
Yes. Somebody said there, I think it was Moses, that Africa should be built on smart brains because Africa got smart brains. And I subscribe to that. I think we need an Africa that gives us equal opportunity. We need an Africa that if we go to Enam and we see the president's daughter or the president's son, they will be very sure that they went there through meritocracy and that they are attending lessons there. And we are very sure that they are there. We need an Africa where oneness and uniformity can become our motto, so that those fine brains that left Africa went somewhere can come back home and strive. We need an Africa where our youth can strive.
Thank you. I think you've already? No, you are not concluded. Okay.
Yes.
You spoke so well that I thought you already concluded.
You know, it is very clear in Africa to see the son of a governor already appointed for a lower position, the son of the Minister of Defense, already a colonel somewhere. It's very common. And that is what is bringing us back. And I cannot lay my hands to explain the fact that you go to school for 15 years of your life and you are proven to be so intelligent, and then you write an examination, you pass, and in 5 minutes during a time called orals, you are made a dull human being. Oral tells you you are dull, you have failed an exams. To tell you that your teachers were just fooling you that you were intelligent.
But what's even the logic in separating orals from the main examination?
The logic is that it is during orals that the real money comes into their pocket. During the writing part, there is no money in the pocket. And oral need to be scrapped. And the schools we call schools where administrators are trained, no. Why not send it to the university levels? People, are you sure after graduating from the university as a journalist, Mr. Boh Elvis, you are not able to stand and do communication until you are trained in a school called Advanced School of Communication.
Anyway, in my particular case,
so I do think that we need an Africa where meritocracy is given its chance, where somebody is recruited into an office, into a job, because of what he can offer, because of what value he can add, not because of who he knows and who sent him.
Thank you, Song Derick. We get this message from Ben Toko, reacting for the first topic. He said, talking about the war, Russia and Ukraine, I think it's an important message. He said the key sector to suffer will be the educational sector, because Ukraine harbors a good number of African students who pursue studies in diverse fields in different universities in Ukraine. And then secondly, both Ukraine and Russia are major exporters of wheat, a highly imported commodity in African countries. So as a result of the conflict, a hike in the price of this commodity is obvious. Let's also get what one of our correspondents, one of our consultants, Elijah Nwaku, sent. He said, gentlemen in the studio, I greet you. As Pan-Africanists, we shouldn't think this does not concern us. We have to build coalitions, and sometimes when you're on the wrong side of diplomacy, history will judge you very harshly. Some Pan-Africanists are rushing to question how this is different from Americans invading Iraq. I beg to differ. We don't support wars of any kind, but Russian invasion of Ukraine is an unprovoked war under the pretext of a NATO advance, yet Ukraine is not a member of NATO. How do you justify that? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much, Kedia Malamfe. I want to thank you, Song Derick. Thank you so much, Ndiwum Emmanuel. Thank you, Dr. Ako Jonako, for coming. And of course, I want to thank our correspondents from Sierra Leone, Jacob Samis Hallowell, from South Africa, and Tozeliwe Benjamin, and Barasa Moses, who joined us from Uganda. I want to thank the CMG, the China Media Group, the media partner of 90 Minutes in Africa, for the content they send. We want to thank the Russian spokeswoman of the Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, and Stephen Perry, chairman of 48 Club Group, an expert in conflict resolution, as well as residents of Kiev. We want to also thank you, Dr. Sunday Adelaja. We hope you're going to be okay over there in Ukraine, and we are hoping to host you in subsequent editions of 90 Minutes in Africa. It is on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that we draw the curtains in this program, coordinated by Kum Leonard, produced by Eli Nolinga, and supervised by Brian Tambe. I am Boh Elvis, thanking you for watching. See you next week, God willing, for another edition of the program.